Hey, welcome back to Gold's Garage. And so a week ago, I made a video with Bill Little, and the reason I got him into the show is I needed somebody to fix my AFR cylinder heads, and he went through all the details how he did that, and my viewers loved them. And if you read the comments, do more videos with Bill. So we're going to do that. So this is the second one. And today Bill's going to flow my fast burn Chevrolet head that I brought him to fix. This has nothing to do with the 406, but I got to make a comment. Life's interesting, which started out to be a big problem and a controversy when I first installed the AFR heads. A setback for me, a financial setback, a whole bunch of things. Turned out to be a learning experience for me and many other people, and an opportunity. So if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be standing here in Bill's shop today. So welcome, Bill.
Thanks.
Pleasure to have you. And we're going to do more. Bill's just heading to Pennsylvania this weekend to race in the Dutch Classic.
Yep.
At Maple Grove Raceway. Bill has a super stock Oldsmobile automatic that runs in the 9-second class with 350 cubic inches. So
Pontiac Grand Am.
Pontiac
with
Grand
an
Am.
Oldsmobile 350. Yep.
There you go. With an Oldsmobile 350.
Yep, an Oldsmobile.
That runs in the nines. If anybody wants to give that a try, you're welcome at it. Welcome to do it. So he's got lots more to offer, but today we're going to do a video about how to do a flow test on the cylinder head. So this cylinder head is, by the way, people can relate to this if they watch my videos. We had a series of videos with Mike Kimble on the budget build 350. And Mike ported the heads. They were steel Chevrolet original heads on it, and we did have some problems with a couple of cylinders. So we made a decision. It's not a budget build anymore. We're going to put these fast burn Chevrolet heads on it, and Bill's going to flow in today. The other one's at home because I did leak down tests and it didn't need to be fixed, but this one did. So Bill's going to flow that and show you how he goes through the whole process of flow testing a cylinder head. So go ahead, Bill, take it over.
Hi guys, how you doing? Well, I'm just got to get the flow bench set up here. And first, I had my Oldsmobile head on here last, probably about a month and a half ago. I took the plate off of it, and I'm going to put the small block Chevy one in there. But I have to change the bore to a 4030 bore, so that the flow is going to be accurate. Some people say it doesn't make a difference. I'd like to flow it with a bore that we're going to be using, or close to it anyway. I have a 4155 bore right in there now, so I am going to get this out of here. Sometimes it doesn't want to come, so I have to pry it out of here. And of course, it doesn't want to now, does it? There it comes. Take you off of there.
That's okay.
Now, if you want to see the swirl meter down in here, it's relatively easy to see right now. I'll just spin it there. That's what measures the swirl. This paddle wheel is a generator. As it turns, it makes a voltage, and then I can see it in RPM. So we'll be checking on that in a minute once we get the head on. We'll put this in here. It's O-ringed. O-ringed here, O-ringed in the top. Makes a very good seal. Sometimes hard to get in there though because it is so tight. There, down she goes. Now, I have the small block plate here. We're going to be doing number, gotta make sure I get this right. It'll be number 1, basically this one right here. So we'll slide this over here. Line it up with the bore. Now I have to put these locks in here. It allows me to slide it. These locks tighten up against this O-ring and seals this plate. And then I can just slide it from one cylinder to the next. As I'm flowing, it makes things a lot faster. No, I got to get some. I had the dowels in this other plate, so I got to take the dowels out of here.
So while we're waiting, Alec, just had a good discussion with Bill. Some of his science that he puts into these engines, and certainly, as I mentioned before, he's at a different level, and he kind of lives inside the engine, and he's got lots of theory that he applies in real life, and that's how you get this Pontiac, by the way, is a converted front-wheel drive car to a rear-wheel drive. Try doing that sometime. And got a picture of it right here, pulling the front wheels off the ground. And I think exactly at the Dutch Classic, exactly. I guess a few years ago, but so that's where he's going this weekend. Anybody going there? Look for Bill's car.
It should be on NHRA Division 1 TV, I believe. It was on there last year. It'll start on probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's live timing, so you can see everything live if you want to. Now I got to get these dowels out of here.
Oh, and there. Hold down.
Yeah, please hold it down now. I probably put Loctite on those to hold them in there. And get this baby out of here. Got her?
Yep.
There's a Loctite. There you go. Here, we'll slide this baby over here, out of the way for now. Hammer. Put these in here. I may have to clean those off a little bit with the wire wheel.
Maybe show the HMI, Alec, while we're waiting. So when Bill does the flow bench test, he's going to narrate it, but that's the screen we're going to be watching. It's going to give us the results that we're getting. And this is a stock fast burn aluminum cylinder head that comes on a ZZ6 or ZZ383 or CT400 if you're in stock car racing. And that's where I took it off one of my Pro late model stock cars, and this head's not ported. It's just the way it came from GM. So, okay, Bill's
All
back.
right,
So
now I'm back. We can get this baby.
I'm just filling in for you while you're going, Bill.
You're doing a fine job, Alan. A fine job. Okay, we're going to get this on the dowels here and bolt it down. You want to have a good seal. You don't want to have any leakage because that can really mess things up. Find one there. Put that in there. A couple of short bolts in here. One there. One there. Ratchet on there. When you go in there. Sometimes I flow different heads and I have to plug some holes, and I think I must have plugged that hole for somebody's. I can do a Ford head on here also, but I can't use the dowels. I have to locate it a different way. Okay, now before I forget, better put a spark plug in, because that's a quick way to gain 40 CFM. Leave the spark plug out.
Okay. I have never seen this myself in real life before. I've watched videos on YouTube or whatever, but they don't usually show this kind of detail. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to show you detail and maybe even some mistakes that I make or forget to do.
Oh, that's just fine.
And when you're flow testing, it's, believe it or not, you reach a certain time in the day when the voltage changes, something changes, the air changes, and at nighttime you will get different readings. So I've learned to stop about 6:30 or 7 o'clock and start the next morning. And I haven't figured out why it does that exactly, but I've seen that numerous times. You'll lose like 7 CFM, come back the next morning, it's back again.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Never
almost
thought
like
of that.
magic. All right, I gotta go get a pair of pliers here. Pliers everywhere, but the ones I want. These will have to do, I guess. I think I'm almost 3,000 tests I've done with this flow bench.
Oh.
So
You've got it figured out by now.
I've
I guess,
spent
eh?
a lot of time, a lot of late hours early on to learn stuff, and I've had all my super stock heads on here and learned quite a bit actually with the super stock stuff.
Well, certainly in super stock where you're limited to compression, you got to make up for it somehow, right?
You do, yes.
If you're going to use a crazy big camshaft, you better have a head that flows, or it won't help anyways. That's the other part of it.
My small block stuff had 4 different back cut angles on the valves, depending on what cylinder it was, and it was substantial.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah, because I always flow it with the intake on, and when the intake's on, you see things you don't, just the head by itself.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now I got to get this squared up here. You want to be accurate. Now I got to use a spacer in here because start at 0. I want that at 0 there. What are we going to use here? I guess we'll use one of these. Is that going to be enough? That's not going to be long enough. I should really make something better here someday, but I get busy and you just don't have time, and you end up just doing the best you can. Let's move that up a little bit. You need this 90 degrees to the valve stem, or you're not going to be accurate. Okay, I think we got that. Tighten that up. And we're going to start at 0 here, so let's bring that back here. Get that popped up a little bit. The old mic's starting to get wore there, so there. So we're going to start at 50 thou lift, so that's 50. Now we're going to put this flow plate on here, and it probably won't match perfect, so I'll have to use a little bit of clay to take some of the sharp edges out of it, but let's see how we're going to do here. I ordered the flow bench from a place in Iowa, and my buddy Austin Ward, who's been on the program tuning a carburetor for Alan, a Quadrajet, he was driving truck out there, so he brought this flow bench back for me. So
Bill, if somebody wants to pick one up, does it cost any money or anything, or
to
buy a flow bench? What do they worth?
buy a flow bench,
What do they
well,
worth?
when I bought this flow bench, it was $22,000.
Well, probably twice that now.
And I got 12 vacuum motors in it. I wish I'd got the extra 2, the 14, so I could flow higher depression. But I'm sure it's a lot more now. So they're not cheap.
That's why it's probably the only one in London, Ontario. Probably.
I think it's only one, like it's the only Sands in here, or in London, I think, and probably in the area, I imagine.
I don't know anybody else that has one. No.
And when I bought this flow bench, the salesman was Harold Betts. And Harold Betts, he's written some books on engines and stuff. He used to work for Superflow.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
he went to work for Jameson Equipment. And
Okay.
Harold was a good guy to talk to. He just knew so much about engines and stuff. He's passed away.
Oh, there. Yeah.
But you know, that's what happens to all the guys that have, you know, got a lot of knowledge. You know, they don't last forever. So,
Yeah.
but I called him a few times on some engines that I've dynoed just to see what the spread between peak torque and peak horsepower should be, and he explained it pretty good. We'll maybe get into that on another video. But so I'm going to put a little bit of clay in here because we got a sharp edge in here, so we don't want any sharp edges. It may not look pretty, but I don't think the air cares about pretty. The air just wants to go straight if it can.
You know, speaking of old timers, while you're there, I've been watching a few videos. The channel is called, I think, Stapleton 42. He does interviews with Ed Pink and Vic Eldebrock, Keith Darton, guys like that who were pioneers in the fuel dragsters and development of NASCAR engines. Pretty interesting stuff.
That's an excellent
listen to these
excellent
guys.
YouTube video.
Like Ed Pink is just sharp as ever. He's 91 years old and still working. It's amazing. So something, I just turned 75, so I got something to look forward to, I
It's
guess.
probably
So,
something to do with working on engines.
yeah,
keeps us young.
Keeps them going.
So
yeah,
there you
well,
go, guys. Keep working on your engines.
So
you
we
know?
haven't even come to our peak yet.
No, maybe not. You know, heck, 90 years old, we still got lots
we
of
haven't
time.
peaked out yet, right? So
Okay, I think
I'll
we
let you
have
keep
everything ready to fire this baby up. So we're gonna start the flow bench. So I can change it from intake to exhaust here. So that's exhaust, that's intake. It's operated by air. I have a foot pedal here, and when I open the valve up, I push the foot pedal. The program averages it for 5 seconds. You'll notice that it's not right at 28 inches, but the program will bring it to 28 inches. Okay. So that's 5 to 8 seconds average anyway. So this is the range number. So for lower flow, I start at 1. I'll probably reach 300. I'll have to put it up to 2. It depends on the cylinder head. So we're going to fire this baby up. Okay, that's at 50 thou right now. So we have about 47 showing there. And if you
that's
look,
the flow right here, then.
that's the flow right here. Yep.
That's the number I'm reading. That's my most important number for me to look at, right?
Yep, that's the flow number right there. And if you look here, this is what the swirl is. So right now we're at almost 600 RPM. So we do have some swirl at very, very low valve lifts, which is probably good. Now we're going to open it up to 100.
So I'm going to guess we're going to get 250 at 500 thou. I'm guessing that.
You
Okay.
gonna guess that? Okay.
Yeah, that's my guess.
I think that's a. Now you know what I should have done? I forgot to get talking here. Let's put that up on the screen so we have a number.
So is this recording here as well, Bill?
Yep.
So you're going to get a printout when you're all done, eh?
Yep. We'll have a printout we can see too.
Beautiful.
We're gonna have to go to a different range here.
How far are you open there, Bill?
That's at 300 right now. That's 400. 500.
I guess 250, not bad, eh?
That's really good. We're going to go up to 6.
So it doesn't flow anymore at 6 than at 5, eh?
Going backwards.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And there's what the swirl is. Now, if you watch it, I'm going to back it off a little bit. See how the swirl came down?
Where are you at now? What's your
You're at 500.
500, eh? So right at 250, eh?
Yep. I'm going to set it off here. So, swirl is a good thing, but swirl decreases airflow. So that's why the port started to go backwards there, because the angle of the air was coming in, swirling too much, and that cuts airflow off. So you want some swirl, not too much swirl. So I figured it would be somewhere around 1800 to 2000 RPM swirl, which it was. Our super stock stuff can be 3000 to 4000 swirl.
It's also interesting that these heads, as I said, are on ZZ6s, CT400s, ZZ383s, and they're all roller engines, of course. And those cams on the intake, there's only 485 lift on the intake. So if you're thinking of getting one and putting a 600 thou lift on it, you're probably wasting your time,
You're wasting
right?
your
You're
time.
probably
I'd
going to lose
probably,
horsepower,
yep,
right? So
550, probably about as much as you'd want to go on that head.
bigger is not always better, right? There is the message there. As you go to 600, you actually lose flow. So
The head comes on really strong. Like by 300, we're 196, which is really good. 400, 243. That's where you want the numbers to come in. 3, 4, 5 numbers probably. The low lift numbers are really good. 44 at 50 and 85 at 2 or at 100. That 85 is as good as what some big blocks are with a 2200 valve in it.
yeah, well, Bill taught me that lesson last time we talked about it. The low lift is just as important as high lift, right? Get that valve off the seat.
And
That's where your 3-angle or 4-angle valve job is going to help you and get it flowing, and it's going to make more power overall.
there's going to be
So,
people disagree, but I've learned over the years, and I've actually decreased low lift flow on some cylinder heads and lost performance at the track. So that's how I know.
yeah, well,
It's not a guess. You
makes
know?
sense.
So-
Area under the curve, right? That's,
Yep.
that's
Now
really what it is,
I
right?
usually go by average, so I'll average. We'll have an average number here, and averages is more important than what one peak number is. So because the engine sees it over the whole lift curve.
Well, we're back to Daryl. I got to give a plug for Daryl every time we go to the dyno. He gives me this speech, average is more important than maximum. The peak is just for bragging rights. Average is when the driver steps on the gas at 3,000 RPM, average is what he's going to feel till he shifts, right? So that's the important part.
The engine averages everything at the back of the crank.
Exactly.
So you can have one cylinder making more power and one cylinder making less, but it's all average at the back of the crank. So everything's an average inside an engine. Okay, now we're going to check so we know what the flow is, we know what the swirl is. We are going to do velocity. Now, this is a pitot tube, P-I-T-O-T, a Frenchman designed it years and years ago. It was made for aircraft initially, I think.
That's how aircraft get their speed.
Yep,
Speedometer. Yeah.
by one of these.
That's
right
an
here.
aircraft speedometer is what it is.
They have one of these right on the wing.
Yeah. That's how they get their speed.
We got to hook this up here. Now we're at 500 lift right now, so we're going to check the velocity at 500. And I got to get my program to do one of these. We need to edit it. To set up. I want to do one. Okay. All right. So we're going to fire this up. Now I'm going to put it right in the center of the port to start with, but I am going to do all 4 corners just to show you how the velocity will change. The center of the port's probably kind of like an average. So anyway, we're going to start this up and we're going to see what the velocity numbers. I think it's going to be pretty good. That's in the center of the part. Here's the corners. That's the roof. That's another corner. That's another corner. And that's another corner, which is a little bit less. So that's very good to be, 300 feet per second in the middle of the port. That is really good. Our super stock stuff's probably 350 to 400 usually in the center of the port. But people want to open up this section. Always leave this section last. If you were to flow that section right there, I bet you that would flow 300 plus CFM straight. But everybody wants to
grind the ports, right? Yeah.
Let's make this
look.
It's
a waste of time. I learned that a long time ago.
That's not where.
It's a waste of time.
That's not where. Yeah, you're better off to work around the valve guide and the short turn a little bit. Just clean the port up.
And past the valve.
That's an excellent head. That head could make probably 530, 540 horsepower.
With the
Yep,
rest
if
of the right
you
stuff
wanted to.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see, because we're going to put it on Mike Kimble's. Used to be a budget build. It won't be when we get these heads on it, but it's we're probably going to dyno it again. We just love dynoing stuff, so we'll probably dyno it again. So just to mention, when Bill talks about his super stock, he's not starting with a nice modern head like this. He's starting with a steel head, and I think the rule is, you can tell me if they have to stick to the original volume of the port.
Volume of the port.
So they can change it. So they put material somewhere to fill up the space and take it out somewhere else to get the same volume, but it flows more. So try doing that sometime, and then do it on all 16 ports. That's the other part of it.
It's time consuming.
The first one's probably pretty fun, but after that, it's pretty much downhill.
By the time that's not what I wanted. By the time you get to the second last one, you wish you'd never started.
Yeah. I haven't done much porting, but that's always my experience. The first port's fun. Pretty much downhill after that. So
now my Oldsmobile Super Stock, I'm allowed to run an aluminum head.
Oh, you are, eh? Okay.
Yes, because there's so many of the heads that aren't available anymore. But we still have to maintain. We can run an Edelbrock head or an old Batten head from the 80s.
Okay.
And
CJ Batten, yeah.
Yep, good old Batten. And my friend Fred Smith at Smith Performance Specialties, he happened to have a couple sets of these heads, Batten heads, and I bought a Edelbrock head and I tested it against the Batten head, and the Batten head was far superior as far as flow goes.
That's a name from the past. I haven't heard that name for a long time.
I'm running an archaic cylinder head.
CJ Batten, wow, that's cool.
But I actually got the intake from a fella in New York, and anyway, it's all old technology, but it works pretty well.
So everything gets documented. You got a written, printed out report, so you know what you're dealing with.
Now we're going to do the exhaust. So we got to change this over to the exhaust side. Put it on range 1. We'll get rid of this here. And on the exhaust, we have to change the percentage to get the airflow correct. Edit, please. Oh, come here. Come here. Here we go. I'll put this at 97%. Okay, now I don't have a pipe that I bolt on here, so I'm going to have to hold a pipe up to this. So we're going to use a 1 3/4 inch pipe. The pipe will make a difference above 200 lift. At 50 and 100, the pipe makes very little, but it can make 10 CFM. We'll take the pipe off at the end and see how much the CFM drops, but it'll be around 10 is my guess. So we'll start this up, and it'll make some noise.
doing a video here. We're videoing.
Got about 170 there. 187, so it's roughly 10 or 12 CFM left without the pipe.
The exhaust valve in a ZZ6 goes about 512, I think. The exhaust is more than the intake. The intake's only 485.
Right.
The exhaust valve is about
it's
512.
a
How
bit
high
more.
did you go there?
500 again, I think.
Okay.
One,
Okay, you're
two,
close
three.
enough then.
No, 6 I went.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I
okay.
went to
So
6.
you,
So it was 188 at 6 basically, which is really good.
like 75%. It should be something.
That's
in that
pretty
range.
close to that, I
Yeah,
think, if you
yeah.
figured that.
That's kind of
that
the
out.
target number, eh? Something like that.
Sometimes I think everybody uses too much exhaust duration anyway. How much exhaust do we really need? You know, that's
Well, we're going to find
That's the
out
key.
on Sunday, and hopefully Bill can stop by and help me. We're going to dyno my 406, and we're going to start off with 1.5 rockers on both sides. Then we're going to go to 1.6 on the intakes, and dyno it again, and then we're going to go 1.6 on the exhaust. Dyno it again, of course, and we're going to find out. And if Bill's right, then when we put 1.6 on the exhaust, the power may actually go down instead of up. So
power and torque.
if it's and torque, of course.
Now, when I was
scavenging, so we're going to find out on Sunday. That's one of the things we're going to do this Sunday.
Learned a
when we
lot
do
of that on about the exhaustion on that 4 valve we have.
Yep.
Like it, and the amount of flow it just doesn't need it.
Just doesn't.
Now-
And you
Yep.
get too much exhaust flow, it sucks the intake right out the exhaust.
It does. When I was doing the intake velocity, so I did the 4 corners in the middle. This port's very good. You want a port to have good velocity all the way through it. Okay, if you have a port that's low in the bottom or low in the top, you're not using the whole port. So this is a good port. Most of the ports being used. That's why the flow numbers are so good. Now I got to change my pitot tube. So when you're doing the intake, you have
I'm going
to
to
use
get you in the future video.
a U
Not this one, but in
shaped
the
one
future
because
one.
the air is going in that way.
Eh? Well, I'm gonna,
So
no,
when
in the
we're
future one, I'll
doing
get you in
the
it.
exhaust, we have to use a straight one.
You-
Okay, so we're going to turn this on, see what the exhaust
Willie's
velocity
finished
is
the
at
video. Willie's
600.
finished the video. Just Willie's finished. He's filming right now. I said, with a lake at the bottom. With a lake at the bottom. We'll be done here in a few minutes.
Kind of exposure because
Well, that's awesome
He's going to
exhaust
get it now,
velocity.
that's for sure.
So basically,
Let me
the center of the
finish up
port
on there,
was
so.
almost
Great.
the same velocity as what the intake port is. So if you get the overlap right on this cylinder head, you'll make some big torque numbers with that. So I'm impressed.
Well, these cylinders, you can go buy them at GM. It's totally stock, but they're not cheap. I think.
No,
I think in
no,
Summit, a complete head's about $2,000 for one head for these heads. These are the raised ports, the D-shaped exhaust ports.
Yes.
They're pretty nice heads. Like I said, they come off one of my 604 stock car engines. So
Now you want to do one more thing here?
it's your choice.
What do you guys think the intake port will flow with no valve in it?
Well, let's find out.
We're
We're
gonna-
going to have battery left in our.
We're gonna find out.
this will surprise you.
But By the way, while we're waiting, please like and subscribe. I forgot to mention that. Supposed to mention that closer to the beginning. But if you want to see more stuff, we're going to do more stuff with Bill. And he's got lots to offer. He also has a Spintron. He designs his own camshafts. He's at a level. I've got videos about camshafts, but this is going to be, I'm 101, 102. He's in the stratosphere when it comes to the camshaft design. I'm trying to provide an understanding for somebody that's going to buy a camshaft to put in their hot rod. That's the need I'm trying to fill. If you're a drag racing guy and you want to know how to squeeze the last inch out of a super stock engine, then that's Bill's going to do that for me. So it's a different level altogether. But and by the way, I owe you guys a video on that. I've only made 2. I got another one in the works, but we can only do so much at a time. I got Alec here today doing the camera work for me, and when I get a chance, if I may need Mike to publish this video, so it'll be in the next few days here. So, and then on Sunday we're going to do the 406 small block Chev that I just built. It's already at Daryl's dyno, ready to rock and roll right now. So, as we speak.
People run too much exhaust duration on camshafts.
Well, I wonder why that GM, when they're building this engine for a race car, basically, as Ed said, 604s, and every Pro late model stock car in North America uses a 604, where you got a very efficient header. Why you would do that? Why you would use a split camshaft when you got the header design that goes into these engines, because they got they have very restrictive rules. So that's the only way they can make power is the header design. So you're already over scavenging, right? If you're already over scavenging, it's dangerous. You could be taking power out of it.
But the camshafts are on a 112 lobe separation.
They are, exactly.
Right?
Yes,
and they don't advance that any.
Yeah, that's
okay.
So
that reduces the overlap. They're doing it a different way. You could run a lower lobe separation, a single pattern cam, advance it, and get the same thing. Okay. And probably make a little more torque.
That's a good
to
point.
boot, right?
That's
but for stock car racing, more torque isn't always good for the driver. Right?
No, what you want is top end power. You don't want to spin the tires off the corner. You want to be pulling at the flag stand is what you want to be
exactly,
doing, right?
Yes.
So,
So it's not all about power. It's getting the power where you need it, right?
That's why high RPM, low torque engines work good in stock cars compared to the other way around, right?
Exactly. So. We're going to take the valve right out, and we're going to put it in upside down, just so the stem is still in there. So you see the stem sticking out there? Now that should flow like crazy. Look at the big hole there. Holy smokes.
Getting air past the intake valve is the hardest part of making power, right? So if you haven't got one, it should be.
That's a huge hole there.
Might fill it too much.
That should flow 500 CFM. I guess that's okay. That in there, this in here. I got a couple little tools that I use for checking out flow in the ports, and I should have used them before I changed the valve, but I'll show you them in a minute once we get this done. Okay, what's it gonna do?
We'll see.
Okay, she's wide open there.
You may be surprised.
We are going to get rid of the exhaust right here. Let's just switch this over to intake. Leave that on range 2 because it should be wide open there. Save that. And we're got to get it on, let's just do this. Come here, test. 103. All right, here we go.
Not much more. Not much more, eh?
Not much more. Maybe 12 CFM. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's amazing. And you think that great big hole there would just...
Like I said, flow 500 CFM.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now, I have a couple tools here that I use, and you can buy these. I made these up myself out of balls. And what this does, I put it in the port in certain spots. You can put it in the corners here, or in the top, or around the guide, or wherever you want, and watch the flow, and it'll sort of tell you what the port wants. If it likes this, the curve on the balls, helping it get around the short turn, and sometimes putting on one side of the guide, it tells you that maybe it doesn't need all the air going on that side of the guide, and a lot of times it'll pick up flow. I also use a bolt with a piece of string on it. Pretty fancy, eh? So I'll show you. It'll get sucked in, and I can see what the string is doing in the port.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be hard to see it, but it'll show me. I can move it over to this side and that side. The end of this goes crazy sometimes. It doesn't know which way the air should be going.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, I also use a smoke stick. And the smoke stick's very interesting because it'll show you where the center of the flow is. The smoke won't go everywhere.
Right.
It just goes where
it's easiest to go,
it's
right?
easiest,
Yeah, exactly,
and that's
yeah.
where the air's going, right, with
perfect.
smoke. So that's pretty easy to do too.
Pretty cool.
And then I have steel blue machinist dye here, and I will spray this in the port sometimes, and I will use I'll use a pipe, and I'll hold it back about here, two or three shots, and it'll actually show me where the fuel is ending up. The air might turn, but the fuel wants to go straight because it's heavier. So this is handy to use too.
Other than going for a ride yourself down the port, I guess that's about the best you can do.
How else can you?
Okay.
I don't think I'd want to ride down the port, actually.
The only reason we got to cut this is because I'm going to lose my battery on my phone here in a minute. I don't have a high-tech phone. So thanks very much, Bill. And for viewers and subscribers, you haven't seen the end of this. We're going to come back here and do a lot more with him. He's got a Spintron. He's going to show us how he designs camshafts. And there's lots of good stuff to come. I'm sure that techie guys are going to enjoy watching this. I have never seen this kind of detail. I've watched a few videos of flow tests. You don't see any of this kind of detail. So thanks very much, Bill. Good luck on the drag race on the weekend. It'll be down in Pennsylvania.
We'll do our best.
Look them up if you're down there this weekend at the Dutch Classic. Thanks for watching Gold's Garage.
See you guys.